All right. So this is a first off for us, Ryan. We're excited to invite Cody Lindenberg here. And Cody, we just want you to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself for those of you who may not know that you play football at the University of Minnesota and know who you are. So maybe just give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Cody Lindenberg. I've been born and raised in Anoka, Minnesota, so not too far away at all from Minneapolis, just 35 minutes north. I grew up my whole life wanting to play football for the University of Minnesota Gophers. And luckily, Coach Fleck gave me the opportunity to do that and took it and ran with it. So now I'm going to be a fourth-year player here, linebacker at the University of Minnesota. And I just want to give a big shout out to Dinkytown athletes and all the members to make this possible for me to meet with you guys tonight.
There's no way you're going to be a fourth year already. You have to be a third.
Nah, this is going to be fourth year. Tell me about it. I know. It's crazy.
Like the more I do this, Luke, I think this is going to be year 12 or 13. I still remember, and we'll get into it tonight, but watching Cody at like a prospect camp for like the Gophers or going to like an Anoka game. And to me, that feels like yesterday. And to hear Cody actually say it's his fourth year or will be here in 23, I'm struggling, man.
I have to be really honest with you, Cody, because Ryan does this full time, right? He covers recruiting, he covers football, and I make fun of his job mercilessly to him, right? I think you're his very first man crush or recruit crush that he just went a little too over the top on. It was a little bit absurd. It started with what I believe was the Nike Spark score or something like that. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, he just couldn't stop talking about you on our podcast. So I guess my first question for you is that weird? Does it make you a little bit uncomfortable?
No, I appreciate it. I mean,
I feel uncomfortable for you, Cody, if that makes you feel better.
It's completely all right. I appreciate it a lot. It's a lot better than someone ripping on me, but either way, I've been sticking to what I believe is right and just putting in work every single day. So, someone appreciates that. I appreciate it as well.
To be fair, Luke, I think my first was Brevin, but Brevin's now been here so long, I think he can at least rent a car going into his 7th year in the program.
Yeah, but the other thing we have to acknowledge is like Cody came in and started that very first game, to which you were like, I nailed this one, right? Like, here we go. And then you were propping yourself up and the whole 9 yards. And then, the rest is kind of history. But yeah, you're right. Brevin was probably number one, but Cody was right there too.
All right, so let's start with your recruiting journey back at Anoka, because I remember that probably too well, where you had a couple, I think, FCS offers. Then you go to a Nike St. Louis camp, and you put up a Nike Spark score of over 100, which for those of the people who don't know what that is, means Cody's pretty athletic. And now that he's got verified times, verified measurables, from your point of view, what happened for your recruiting after that camp came and went?
So before the Nike opening, like you said, I got schools from like a lot of Missouri Valley schools, SDSU, NDSU. But after that Nike opening, it really opened up to like outside of FCS looks. Some Big Ten schools, obviously Minnesota had contacted me after that. Some other Southern schools that had some interest, DM me a little bit. But really, as soon as Minnesota started talking to me, I kind of put those other schools kind of behind the list because obviously, like I said earlier, Minnesota was my number one, and if I got that offer, I was gonna take it. So as soon as I had that, that really opened the door for me after the Nike opening to get in contact with Coach Rossi and Coach Simon, who had recruited the area for me. So yeah, that was really how it kind of got started. The spark went after that.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. So you mentioned that you've been a lifetime Gopher fan, and you've got this interest from those FCS schools. So you're close, right? You know that these top FCS schools are, they're really good programs. But the Big Ten is maybe just a little bit higher up in terms of the caliber of athlete. So is there pressure going into something like the Nike opening? Like, did you know, hey, if I can perform here, like this could be my gateway? Or are you just like, I don't have any clue. I'm just doing this and hoping that I can eventually earn that scholarship?
Yeah, I knew going into it, like my trainer, Eric Harrison, is the one who kind of introduced me to the whole like idea of a camp. So like I really didn't understand like the whole recruiting and stuff, just because like there was a few older guys above me that went and played Division I football, but like so even to like my school, it was sort of like a newer thing to like have coaches come to the school, get in contact with coaches. So yeah, even with that, it was pretty new, and so I wouldn't say there was a pressure behind it, but like obviously you're going in there knowing like if I perform well, there's a good chance some schools are going to contact you. And for me, it was just I know what I can do, so I'm going to go out there and perform at my best. And at the end of the day, if coaches recognize that as something that they find valuable, then that's great, and that's what Minnesota did. And I'm just glad that's the way it worked out.
I mean, speaking of, what do you remember about that early May visit you had to Minnesota? Because it went from you visited to you were offered to you committed, and I think a span of about a week. So when you think back on it now, 4 or 5 years ago, because you're old, what do you remember?
Oh man, I just remember that first trip up. Like I've been around the Dinkytown area, just like me and my buddies. But I would think it's cool to like go around the campus. Like when you're in high school, like, oh, let's go to the college campus. Like just hang around, walk around. Like you think it's pretty cool back then, but like being on the campus, like with an opportunity to become a student athlete, it's just a completely different feeling. And going into the building, talking to coaches, like the first time I had talked to Coach Fleck was on the phone. I was sitting in the D staff room, and I think it was Garrett who had walked in with the phone. He's like, "Here, someone wants to talk to you." And it was Coach Fleck. I think he must have been on vacation at that point. He was sitting somewhere warm on a beach, and I was like, "Oh," he was like, "How do you like it?" And I was so nervous. I'm pretty sure I said like a one short answer. I'm like it's great. And he's like, "Oh, like a man of few words." I'm like, that made me even more nervous. So I was kind of shaking right there, but no, it was tremendous, and it was the best experience I've had. Even like obviously visiting other schools, like you see things and you get to find comparisons to stuff you like, stuff you don't like, and it just blew everything out of the water that I'd previously seen, and that just was a topping on the cake for me to be able to make my final decision.
All right, so you end up making the decision, and obviously what went into that was the fact that you are a lifelong Gopher fan, and from the state of Minnesota. But talk to me, when you make that decision, is there kind of a relief, right? Knowing that the recruiting's over and you can focus on just wrapping up your high school career?
Yeah, for sure. There is a lot more that goes into recruiting than maybe just the average fan may think about. Like obviously, like it's super fun. Like if you go about it the right way. So I think some people just think it's kind of like travel around, look at stuff, but like there's a lot that goes into it. Like for me, I'm a big family guy. Like I wanted to be close to my family because obviously I want them to come to the games. I want to be able to spend time with them outside of football. So like going down to like a Southern school for me really wasn't like something I was hoping to do. But obviously, like if the opportunity was there and it was the best opportunity for me, I would have taken it. But for me, I was really looking to stay home and be around the family and just be as close as I could for those out of football experiences and during football, then come to the games, go to open practices. So yeah, after I was able to make that decision, it was a big relief for not only me, but the rest of the family as well.
So you get on campus and it's the COVID year, and not exactly the way anybody thought it was going to go, especially someone like you, who, if I remember right, was a high school safety. And then you get done playing high school safety at Anoka, and then 10 short months later, you're starting at linebacker in your first ever game against Michigan. How different was it for you to try and learn a new position in that COVID year?
Yeah. So talk about like the safety in high school. Yeah, I pretty much played around the whole team on in high school. A little bit of offense, a little bit of defense, not a ton of linebacker, but I mean I was really excited to get in there and learn the playbook. That's why I had early enrolled in the winter to get in early for spring ball. So yeah, getting in there, just getting in the playbook itself was a new step, because in high school, like you got a few plays, you got some schemes, but for the most part, like it's just we're running this against this look and then go out and play. So the first thing I noticed different, at least when got into here, was the speed of the game. Like
Yeah.
Guys are just faster, they're more athletic. And so, yeah, that was a big first step for me, just the speed of the game. Obviously, I'm a pretty athletic kid, and I can run, I'm pretty strong, but just like that mental part of the game, seeing stuff, reacting, getting to the right spot, making the play, there's a lot more that goes into it than just meets the eye. And not only that, but learning linebacker itself, learning the schemes, learning what type of looks on offense you're going to get, and what kind of plays you can expect. It was a really big step. And then with COVID, setting guys back. So like, even if you didn't get COVID and your roommate had got it, you had to sit out for like, I think it was like 2 weeks or something. So it was 14 days, 17 days. It was some ridiculous. And that was happening all the way throughout spring ball, even through fall camp when the season was reopened. Because I was actually, so when we left for spring break, we had like a week of spring practice and left for spring break. And I was sitting in my hotel room in Mexico when we got a text saying like nobody's allowed back on campus, like everyone's going home. I'm just sitting there like, what is going on? Like it was, yeah. So ended up leaving Mexico, coming back, grabbing the stuff, going back home. That's kind of when like we started doing virtual meetings. That was honestly like, it may have been like I wouldn't say like a blessing in disguise. Obviously, I would have loved to be in the facility doing practices, in-person meetings, but that virtual time allowed me to like get in the playbook more almost and like dive into it to another deeper level, to have that extra time. So that was something I say I would have taken advantage of, just for the extra time to get in the playbook. But yeah, I would have said I would have loved to have a normal like in-person practices, not sitting in your dorm room with a mask, not even a mask on, just by yourself for like 14 days. It got pretty lonely pretty quick.
Well, even like you mentioned, like the virtual meetings or even getting COVID and then you're out for 2 weeks. I don't know that a lot of people know the story of that fall camp for you, where, yeah, you start against Michigan and everybody sees it, but those weeks leading up to it were quite tumultuous for you. What was the story like on your end?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult just to handle the timeline and practice schedule and everything in the first place, just as it was. But because I got knocked out in spring ball, or not, yeah, well, obviously like everyone came back for spring ball. Getting knocked out in fall camp was pretty tough, obviously, because like you want to be there for the installs, you want to be there for practice. More reps is just, you're going to learn more stuff, especially as a freshman. You want to get as many reps under your belt as possible, because once you learn something on the board, like you can go draw it up, you can go do whatever on the board. It's a whole different game once you get onto the field, because that reaction time is something that most guys don't really realize is just a different game itself, getting on the field and executing. So just getting more reps under your belt is something that really, really helps. So not having those was tough. But obviously, like, there's nothing you can do about it. You got to listen to what the doctors were saying at that point, and you just got to go out and execute the best you can with what you were trained with. So there's nothing you can really complain about. It's just you wish you would have had that time back.
Talk to me just a little bit about the emotion. So, going from like spring ball where you miss out, right? And then all of a sudden the season is canceled to the season is back on to now you're starting against Michigan and game day is on campus or whatever. Just talk about the roller coaster of emotion with that.
Yeah. Just obviously like the scenery change in general from high school to Big Ten college football is something in itself. And then not only that, having COVID, the funky scheduling, guys getting knocked out, and then obviously having that game against Michigan was very, I mean, you could say like it was interesting in itself. Just, I mean, it was obviously a great experience, first starting game against Michigan. Like that's only what a kid can dream for. But again, you just wish you had the more time to prepare, more time to get ready. But at the end of the day, you got to go and execute with what you were trained for. And I did obviously the best that I was capable of at that time, whether it was what people expected of me or not. I did the best I could, and that's all you can really ask for in a person, the best they can have. So yeah, it was a roller coaster of emotions, to say the least.
Speaking of a roller coaster of emotions, let's get to 2021, where you have the game against Colorado, and then you get this freak foot injury that essentially knocks you out. How frustrating was that to be essentially playing that many snaps against Colorado to then being like, well, here it is again?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to that just next season, obviously. I mean, I wasn't starting those first few games. We had that's when Jack had came in, Gibbons, and Sorry, Mariano playing Will. So I mean, I was just taking my reps, learning from what I could from those two. Obviously, both two really, really good players that you can learn a lot from, two older guys. And so I was super like happy to be with those guys in the room, and then getting my shots at the end of games, making the most out of those, and looking for more opportunities on the field. That's all you can really ask for. Special teams, defense, any opportunity you can get is a blessing on the field. And just that next, I want to say it was a Tuesday practice when it was the special teams drill. Got caught up on someone, foot twisted up, and then I kind of knew something was up right when it happened. I told our athletic trainers, ended up finishing practice, and then they had me get a MRI and an X-ray that next day. And then I remember getting called into Coach Fleck's office. I'm like, I really didn't know what it was for. He just went up to his office and then let me know that the rest of the season was pretty much over for me because I had to get surgery. So that kind of took the air out of me, right when he told me that, for a few days. And then I don't know, the coaching staff really picked me back up, just with like the words of encouragement, like letting me know that it's just another bump in the road. Like, we're gonna be better. We're gonna row. We're gonna get through it. So yeah, I think my family, the coaching staff, they really helped me get through that tough time, just knowing that everything's gonna be all right.
So you talk about, the fact that the staff can support you. How does, there's so much that goes into injuries, and it's such a long road back, right? You have like a surgery and rehab and everything. And I can imagine it really eats at you and makes things challenging. So how are you, and how is the university and just a football program like helping you protect your mental health and, get going back in the right direction beyond just those words of encouragement?
So yeah, we have mental health specialists that we are encouraged to go see. Like if you're having any troubles with your mental health, we have people you can see. Athletic trainers, like just being in the athletic training room, like very supportive, like helping you through the injuries, letting you know, like if we stick to our plan, if we do the things that we know we're supposed to do, we're gonna get you back to your health, and like the right plan, you'll get even better to what you were before you were hurt. And so I just think not only our athletic training staff, but our coaching staff and mental health specialists do a very, very good job getting guys back to 100%, at least to what they were, and even sometimes better than what they were before injury.
And then you look at this past season, which is your third year, so 23 is your fourth, and I continue to feel very old. You go from playing some to really, once that Illinois game hit, from then on, you were playing a lot of snaps out there. So when you think about the 2022 season, what are you going to remember?
I just think like being with those, like that group of seniors was a really, really special group. And I'm going to miss those guys a lot, just because like I've learned a ton, especially being in that room with Mariano, like all the way from my freshman year to last year. I learned a tremendous amount from him. Not only like from the field stuff in the meeting room, just like life stuff, being able to hang out with those guys. Like we made a ton of great memories that I'm honestly never going to forget. Like I'll cherish those memories I had with those guys forever. And outside of that, getting, like you said, I got a lot more snaps. Started I think my first game was Rutgers. Started every game after that. I just think I prepared like the best I could, no matter what. I was in the meetings after extra, watching film, and I was just waiting for my chance. And after I got it, I took it, ran with it, and I never looked back. So I was always ready for my chance. I was never gonna leave it up to like, maybe I'll be ready once it happens. Like I was preparing like I was gonna be the starter every game, And when I was ready to be the starter. So I just think the preparation that I had never wavered, even when I wasn't a starter. So once I got my opportunity, like I said, I was ready to take it.
Talk to me a little bit about the linebacker room. You talked about some of the relationships. Here's what I'm honestly curious about. Mariano is probably going to host a TV show about, restaurants and food after what he did on social media. So who in the linebacker room is going to now fill that void? Is that going to be you, or because somebody has to fill that void now?
Yeah, obviously Mariano was that leader, that kind of the guy in the defensive room, especially in the linebacker room, and not having him is going to be something different. Obviously, like something else got to step in. So yeah, I'm looking to take that leadership role. One of the older guys in the room, got to set an example for these younger guys. Getting in the meeting rooms, doing extra work outside of the required. That's what it's going to take if we want to do exactly what we want to do. So yeah, I'm stepping up. I'm going to be that guy in that room now.
How's your bowl game injury recovering after surgery? And I mean, if you feel comfortable, you can share what actually did happen there.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was not very easy to see during the game. I got cut block from the running back. Didn't really get a chance to get my hands down on him to at least give myself a chance to kind of get away from the block. So helmet went onto my ankle. Ended up breaking my ankle on there. Had to get surgery. So yeah, that was more like a 6 to 8-ish, 10-ish weeks process. So I'm getting towards the end of my process now. Had me in a boot for the first few weeks after surgery. I was able, the thing was, I didn't know I was going to be weight bearing so quick after surgery. So I started walking around like a week and a half, 2 weeks after surgery, which I honestly didn't really expect. I guess that's just the nature of the surgery. I guess I didn't really know that something like that could be weight bearing, because when they go in, they put a plate on your ankle, like a metal plate. So essentially, like, the ankle is stronger than it would be without the plate. So you're really not worried about like breaking that plate essentially in there again, or the bone. You kind of just letting your body get used to that foreign object in your body. Not wanting to push it. Obviously, it's very swelled, still pain around the area. But now I'm able to walk around like with a small air cast, starting to jog in like a Alter G type machine. It's like a treadmill with like a kind of like strapped in almost with like an airtight, and it like pumps up air, makes you lighter. So I've been able to jog around in that, and I think it's looking good for me to start jogging, I think, on actual land this week. So I'm really looking forward to that, getting back running with the guys, because I've been sitting out with the injured crew for a little while, and I'm looking forward to getting back with the rest of the guys.
What do you injured crew guys do during practice? Like, are you guys, playing video games, or I mean, you do some work on the bike, but like, honestly, you have to make do with the time somehow. So how are you guys passing that time?
Yeah, so during workouts, and so we start with speed. So when we're out there running, we got different circuits for each day. So like on our speed days, depending on if you're like an upper injury or lower injury guy, we got like circuits. So it'll be like a bike like 20 seconds for like 100%. You can rest for like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. There'll be like an ab circuit, push-ups for those guys that can do that are lower body injuries. So now me and a few other guys have got to a point where we can go do like sled pulls. So we'll do like push to moves, marches, and then other things like getting us back into the resistance type workouts. And then once we get into the weight room, again, it's whether or not you're like upper injury or lower injury type guy. So for me, since I was weight bearing, I could do some stuff like on my opposite leg that they felt comfortable with me doing. So like in case I like fell over, I could like put my other foot down. But like, because some guys are on like a scooter, so they really don't feel comfortable with some of those guys doing like just single leg activities or workouts on that leg. But for me, I got lucky to where I could do a lot of those single leg exercises on my right good leg. So my right leg's significantly bigger than my left one. It's even with the foot injury from 2021. My right quad is just pretty good looking compared to the left one.
That's awesome.
All right. I know he's only been around a month, but what have you been your early impressions of Ryan Seelig? Again, I know that, in an ideal world, Rossi would slide him in at Mike so he can keep you at will. But how has Ryan kind of fit into that linebacker room so far?
Oh yeah, we'll start outside of football. Ryan's just he's a great guy in general. Like he's got obviously came from Western Michigan, great guy. He got a dog, got a black lab. So immediately good start off that. Dog guy, that's nice. I had a black lab growing up too, so that was a good start. But yeah, great guy, learning quick, getting in the playbook, spending a lot of extra time in the room, in the meeting room, studying, asking questions. He's not afraid to ask questions if something's not super clear or like clicking right away. So you like that when guys aren't afraid to ask questions, because sometimes when guys don't want to ask questions and then it's like if this is right in your head, like that really isn't something that is very beneficial, because if you're out there thinking, you're not gonna be able to react as fast. So it's good that he's asking questions, getting in the playbook a lot. But I'm really excited to start playing and practicing with Ryan.
I also want to ask you about two of the younger guys in that room too, Maverick Baranowski and Joey Gerlach. Again, they got the red shirt last year. Didn't see a ton of time, but from what you've seen from being around them now 12 months, what are your impressions of Maverick and Joey?
Both of those guys, I think, have very, very bright futures in this room, especially with Joe Rossi in our room, leading us, teaching us every single day. Maverick and Joey, especially, I think, developed very quickly, like as being high schoolers to freshmen in the Big Ten playing linebacker. They both got very good instincts for the ball, able to get around the ball no matter what. Like the plays run away, they're still going to find a way to get to the ball. Both physical players, fast, athletic. Got to put a little bit more weight on. Obviously, not everyone's going to come into the room 6'3", 240 pounds, whatever it may be. Still young players that got time to put weight on. Obviously, that's the perfect time in the off season. Winter workouts, putting weight on, getting stronger. But I think both of those guys have a very, very bright future in this room.
But if you talk about putting weight on, and that's something that Ryan always talks about with like offensive linemen, defensive linemen as they come in, then these safeties that convert to linebacker, from out of high school. What's your recommendation to those young guys in good ways to put on weight other than weightlifting? What are we eating?
That's something that, especially like when you get to college, nutritionists do a very, very good job, especially ours, Rachel Stark. I think she does a very good job with us, sitting down with guys like one-on-one individually, breaking down like what you should be eating on a daily basis to be able to either gain weight. Because obviously not everyone needs to gain weight coming into college. Some guys need to lose weight or even maintain weight, but still putting on muscle even. So she's going to sit down with you and break that down as to what each meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner should contain, whether it's more carbs versus proteins, anything like that. But obviously a guy that needs to gain weight, especially in high school, for me, I wasn't like the heaviest guy, but getting in, I knew I needed to gain some weight. So even before school, I started, mashed potatoes, steak, anything with some lean protein on it, I think it'll do the job for anyone that's looking to put some weight on.
Now, you've mentioned his name a few times, Joe Rossi, defensive coordinator and your position coach as well. What's your best Joe Rossi story from the 4 years that you've now been around him? Again, I think a lot of people look at Rossi and they only see him on Saturdays when he's looking very stoic on the sidelines, but I think you and I both know that's not the way he always is.
No, yeah, Rossi, great guy outside of football. Like obviously most the regular fan just sees him up in the box calling plays, but he is hands down a great just person and man in general that truly cares about us as players and people, getting us better every day, not only to be a better linebacker, but as a better brother, son, whatever it may be. But I wouldn't say it's that one single story about the guy, but he can rattle off just about any stat or play in a game from 2005, 2007. I swear we sit in the meeting room and someone will have like asked a question or either like said like an example of a play, and he'll be like, oh yeah, I'll show you this play from like Rutgers versus Northwestern 2005 play, whatever, going this way. And it's just like, how does this guy like, it's insane.
You guys look around the room at each other side-eyed, like,
Oh, yeah,
how
like,
in the
and at
world
this-
is
Yeah, and at this point, it's just like we don't even like look at each other. But right away, it was like, how is this guy like knowing all this stuff? And it's honestly ridiculous because like he'll give you the game, who's playing, the quarter, what way the ball is going. Because like he'll click a play and be like, oh, that's not it. The ball is going the other way. And I'm like, dude, like you already have the game, the quarter, and like the right sort of formation you're looking for. Like, but he just had the wrong way the field was going. But it's honestly, and then he gives us this other analogy of when he was in college, his coach had given him something when like it's run away, you got to look for this, and this. He says it's just Bixter, but he'll rattle off each like BXT, whatever else spells the Bixter, and he'll say it in like 3 seconds, and it's just it's crazy because he said he learned it in college however many years ago. That was
that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I hear too, and I want you to confirm this for me or not. We've talked to some of the other defensive guys. They think he's pretty good at Madden. Do you know, have you played him in Madden?
I have not played Coach Rossi in Madden, but the way he schemes up some of the guys that we play, I would think that he'd be a pretty good defensive guy on Madden.
I have this like picture in my mind's eye that it's like him in the basement all by himself, like
with his two
now
boys,
that you just
he's beating up on his 7-year-old.
Oh, he would get
no
fired
mercy.
up for sure. No, he would not show any mercy. He'd get fired up, and he's running up the score on his kids for sure.
Yeah, and I like the idea that he's also remembering all these plays from Madden when he's playing his kids, right? And he could tell you what direction it was and the whole 9 yards. Yep. Oh yeah, I'm totally envisioning this now.
Oh yeah. No, I have not played him Madden. Maybe I'll have to change. We'll record that and put it out for people to see. But maybe that's for another day.
All right.
Now, speaking of someone who also looks like Joe Rossi, your Twitter background photo is someone that I don't know that Luke has any idea of who it is. But
you're gonna make me
give
search
us
this.
a little behind the scenes of what I assume is probably your favorite TV show.
Yeah. So my Twitter background is Goku. He's part of the Dragon Ball Z anime show. That's it was my favorite growing up. That was like the first type of anime that I'd watched. Just a lot of there's people have different viewpoints on it. It's pretty much just a lot of fighting, cool transformations from characters. That's not what Goku like normally looks like. He's normally just like a pretty jacked up looking dude with black hair, but he goes like Super Saiyan mode is called. He's like, because his race as a person is a Saiyan. So when he goes Super Saiyan, it kind of like spikes up his hair, it goes yellow, and he gets like a lot more powerful. And that's kind of the background behind that. But yeah, favorite TV show growing up when I was a kid. I still kind of get the urge to watch it sometimes. I'll turn on an episode or two at night, throw it on. But yeah, that's kind of the background of the Goku background.
I literally, if you were to put that in front of me, I'd have no idea. I've looked at the picture now. I don't know a ton of Dragon Ball Z, I'm going to admit. But are you a big anime person still? Do you still like anime? Have you evolved into more? Okay. What's the anime now of choice?
This little thing here is that's from Naruto.
Okay.
Another one I've watched a bunch at this point. I was one of those kids though in high school where I was like, I'm not watching that anime stuff like a ton.
Yeah.
Like, I watched it when I was a kid, but I got into college. I rewatched Dragon Ball, and I'm like this is, I think this might be my thing again. Turned on Naruto, watched that, finished that whole thing. That's like I was like gotta be like 500 some episodes attached to that. So that's a lot of time right there watching that. And then just there's a bunch of other ones I've been watching, but yeah, that's kind of been my my thing since got back into college. Obviously, there's I don't know if you guys have seen Outer Banks. That's coming out in like a week. That one, there's season for that. watch that. Mariano had me watch Game of Thrones.
Okay.
That's one of my top shows now, one of my favorites. I didn't really like the ending of Game of Thrones, but that's not up for me to decide, I guess.
I don't think many people did.
No.
How many guys on the team, because I know you're not the only one, but do you guys actually talk about anime in the locker room and stuff? Who else is super into it with you?
Oh man. Tea Time used to watch a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
We would talk about that a lot. Gage Keys, he transferred to Kansas. Me and him used to watch that a bunch, talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, who else watches it? I mean, Tea Time was like the main one that we would pretty much talk about it with. Daniel Jackson, he watches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to him recently for another Dinkytown Athletes thing, and he was talking about how he was into anime too.
Yeah, we're watching the same show right now. It's called One Piece. It's like a pirate crew sort of traveling around looking for, like, their main goal is to look for like the One Piece, it's called. So like no one knows what it is, but that's kind of like their whole mission going through the show to find it. And so yeah, D-Jack is another one. I know there's a few other guys, but I'd say the majority of the team pretty much thinks that we're just a bunch of dorks for watching it, but that's all right.
I think here we go. Closed circuit to the Dinkytown Athletes, folks. We got to get a 101 to anime with Daniel Jackson and Cody Lindenberg. And any of the people that are members can show up in this virtual watch session, and you guys can then have like a debrief, just like, those film festivals at the end, right? You guys will talk about it, introduce people to it. I like that idea.
I like that idea too. That sounds like some. I got to text D-Jack about that. I'm sure he'd love that too.
Yeah, I like that.
No, we won't keep you too much longer because we know you got an important test coming up. Because turns out your major is kinesiology. So my best man was actually a kinesiology major. But for those and I mean, to me, it's a very broad subject, kinesiology. It can encompass a lot of different things. So, like, what are we studying for in mid to late February for a kinesiology test?
So right now, the class I'm studying for is like biomechanics. Mm-hmm. So a lot about how the body moves and the forces that kind of act upon it to make it move and react upon it. So with kinesiology, I'm sort of looking to pursue something in physical therapy or athletic training. Honestly, because really my time here kind of pushed me in that direction. Obviously getting hurt a few times, being in the athletic training room, just seeing how those people can impact not only like the athletes that aren't hurt, but obviously to keep those guys healthy, but really like those injured guys to bring them back is something that I can say like inspired me to really push into this kinesiology degree.
So do you ever go up to head strength coach Dan Nickel and say, hey, I was learning about this in class. I think you're doing it the wrong way and teaching us the wrong way? Because I'm sure he would take that really well.
Yeah, no, I haven't gone that route yet. I have talked to him about like stuff I've been learning in class and just how I think it's cool how it kind of obviously how it relates to the things that we're doing. But yeah, no, I haven't given him any suggestions of how to improve our workouts. I think he does an elite job with things that we're doing.
All right. I think the last one we have for you is, PJ and Joe Rossi said this past fall that they both believe you might be the best linebacker that they've coached in their time. So when you hear that, or I don't even know do you even hear that in terms of, do you listen to what they have to say in the media? Does it make its way to the locker room, statements like that?
Yeah. Coach Fleck encourages us to watch his interviews and press conferences just for feedback and kind of information of what's going on and stuff in the media, especially with him. So yeah, I had seen that during the press conference, but for me personally, like nothing's going to change about the way I approach my preparation, like the things I do outside of football. It just, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to work just the same way I did, if not at a higher level, because I know what I'm capable of doing. And to me, not achieving that would be a disservice to myself, because I know the type of work that I'm capable of putting in, and the, kind of the outcome that I know that I'm capable of doing is something that I'm going to reach with what I know I'm going to do.
So to close this out, we actually have a pop quiz for you, and this is the Dinkytown Athletes pop quiz. Okay, this is going to be really quick.
Okay.
But you learned in school that there are no bad questions, but on this pop quiz, there are only bad questions. Okay, so don't take these lightly. Everybody listens to Gopher Gridiron Radio, and as well that listens on Dinkytown Athletes. So they're probably going to grade you on this. So take this kind of seriously. All right.
All right.
You ready? All right. This is recorded. All right.
All
You
right.
taking digital notes or paper notes in class?
I'm a digital guy. I got like a flipped, like a laptop type HP that flips open. I got a pen to write, so that's kind of been my thing.
All right. Are you a TV series or movies type person? I feel like I know this answer now, but I'm going to ask anyway.
I would say when I was younger, it was, you know what? I'd say it's both, because like obviously the anime stuff is TV series, but there are some movie like trilogies. Like I was a huge Star Wars guy. Guardians of the Galaxy is like my favorite. The two favorite movies I think I've watched in the past few years.
I get it. You're very non-committal. It's fine. That's fine. Are you an earbuds, like in-ear earbuds, or over-the-head earphones?
I'd say over the head headphones.
All right. Are you a high socks or a low socks person?
Ooh, I turned into low sock guy. I was a high sock my entire life, and then I got into college and I started wearing low socks. I like it.
Oh, I can see you can evolve. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Pizza, you cutting that in squares or triangles?
Triangle. Squares get a little messy once you get in the middle.
All right. You're from Anoka, so I know you probably know your chicken wings well. Are you doing boneless or bone in?
I've got ripped for this a few times. I'm a boneless guy. I don't really understand the I don't understand how you would want the bone.
All your teammates say that that's a chicken nugget. That's what they say.
Yeah, I know. I don't
know either.
Fine. They can call it what they want, but I think
you've been to Serums in Anoka?
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, those are good wings.
Good wings. You gonna dip those wings like blue cheese or ranch?
I'm a ranch guy.
All right. All right. Are you a hard shell or soft shell taco type person?
Big hard shell.
Oh, I like that. Definitive.
Yeah.
This is kind of philosophical question here. You can choose to answer it. You can choose to pass if you need to. Is milk with cereal a soup?
I don't think so. I've never heard it called a soup, so I've never thought about it that way, but I don't think I would call it a soup.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Oh, man. Probably a night. I'll get up early if I need to, but I prefer to stay up late.
All right. You a cat or a dog person?
Dog, for sure.
Good thing you got that new teammate with the dog.
I know.
This is, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you, but the state of Minnesota is going to be watching this. All right. I need you to complete the following saying: duck, duck.
Gray duck.
That's the right answer, ladies and gentlemen. That's the right answer.
I just had this conversation with Dragon in class. It was like a example. It was like duck, duck, gray, duck, duck, goose something. He's like, I said it's duck, duck, gray duck, but that's fine. He's like, who calls it like duck, duck, gray duck? I'm like, dude, he's from Wisconsin, so I kind of blew it off. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. All right. Do you pronounce the images that move that aren't movie? They're not movie files. Do you pronounce it GIF or GIF?
GIF.
All right. Good man. All right. Last one. Favorite color: maroon or gold?
Maroon.
That's
Beautiful.
why I wore the maroon polo tonight, Luke.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very on brand. Very good. All right. Well, we'll be rooting for you, Cody. We appreciate your time. Stay healthy. Best of luck as you continue to recover. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. Obviously, looking forward to meeting with you guys again. Dinkytown, everyone a part of it. I appreciate you. The time together tonight. So thank you.